The year is 1972. Americans are watching the final missions of the Apollo program, listening to classic rock on the radio, and spending ordinary pocket change without a second thought. But what if one of those quarters, a simple Washington quarter carrying the date 1972, was hiding a secret worth far more than 25 cents? Imagine reaching into an old jar of coins inherited from a grandparent. You sift through pennies, nickels, and dimes, expecting nothing unusual. Then you spot a 1972 Washington quarter. At first glance, it looks completely ordinary. Yet some collectors have spent years searching for unusual examples of this coin, hoping to uncover rare minting mistakes and valuable varieties that can transform a common quarter into a fascinating treasure. But how did this coin come to exist, and why does it continue to capture the imagination of collectors more than 50 years later? To answer that question, we have to travel back to the origins of the Washington quarter itself. The Washington quarter was first introduced in 1932 to honor George Washington, the first president of the United States. What began as a commemorative coin became one of the most recognizable pieces of American currency ever produced. For decades, millions of Americans carried these quarters in their pockets, used them in vending machines, and dropped them into cash registers without giving them a second thought. By 1972, the United States Mint was producing enormous numbers of quarters to meet growing demand. The country was expanding rapidly, commerce was booming, and Americans needed coins for everyday transactions. The Philadelphia Mint and the Denver Mint worked tirelessly to produce hundreds of millions of quarters. Most 1972 Washington quarters were struck in copper-nickel-clad composition, a material that had replaced the traditional silver content just a few years earlier. Following the Coinage Act of 1965, silver had become too expensive for regular circulation coins. As a result, quarters now contained a copper core sandwiched between layers of nickel. For many collectors, that change marked the end of an era. Yet it also opened the door to a new chapter filled with fascinating mint errors and varieties. Now here's where the story becomes interesting. When people hear the phrase "no mint mark," many immediately assume rarity. The truth is more complicated. In 1972, quarters struck at the Philadelphia Mint normally carried no mint mark at all. Unlike modern coins, Philadelphia quarters of that era were produced without a mint mark. So finding a 1972 quarter with no mint mark is completely normal. That simple fact has created confusion for decades. Countless people have discovered a 1972 quarter without a mint mark and believed they had found an extraordinary rarity. Some even imagined they had uncovered a coin worth thousands of dollars. But does that mean every 1972 no mint mark quarter is only worth face value? Not necessarily. Condition changes everything. Think about how many quarters are used every day. They are dropped, scratched, scraped against other coins, and exposed to years of wear. Finding a 1972 quarter that looks almost exactly as it did when it left the mint is surprisingly difficult. Collectors compete for the finest known examples. Coins graded in exceptional mint state condition can command prices far above their face value. While circulated examples are generally common, pristine specimens with sharp details, brilliant luster, and minimal imperfections can attract serious attention at auctions. And then there are the errors. Every coin begins as a blank metal planchet. Massive presses strike designs into these blanks at incredible speeds. Most coins emerge perfectly, but every once in a while something goes wrong. When mistakes happen inside a minting facility, collectors pay attention. Some 1972 quarters have been discovered with off-center strikes. Imagine a coin entering the press slightly out of position. The result is a dramatic design that appears shifted toward one side, creating a unique and eye-catching error. Others display doubled features, where parts of the design appear duplicated due to issues during the die creation process. These subtle varieties often require magnification to identify, but experienced collectors know exactly what to look for. Then there are clipped planchets, struck through errors, die cracks, and other unusual minting anomalies. Each error tells a story. It represents a brief moment when the machinery of the United States Mint behaved in an unexpected way. That moment transformed an ordinary coin into something special. But perhaps the most fascinating part of coin collecting isn't the value. It's the hunt. Imagine walking through a flea market on a cool Saturday morning. An elderly vendor places a dusty container of old coins on a table. Most people pass by without noticing, but a collector stops. He begins searching, one coin after another. Nothing unusual. Then suddenly, something catches his eye. A strange strike. An unusual detail. A coin that doesn't look quite right. That thrill of discovery is what keeps collectors searching year after year. And the 1972 Washington quarter has become part of countless treasure hunting stories exactly like that. Across America, collectors examine rolls of quarters from banks, check inherited collections, and search through forgotten coin jars. Most finds are ordinary, but occasionally, someone uncovers an impressive mint state example or a genuine mint error hiding in plain sight. The possibility of discovery creates excitement. After all, how many valuable coins have been unknowingly spent over the years? How many rare errors slipped through cash registers? How many treasures remain hidden inside old collections waiting to be found? No one truly knows. The cultural significance of the 1972 quarter also adds to its appeal. This coin emerged during a fascinating period in American history. The early 1970s were filled with political change, technological advancement, and cultural transformation. The Vietnam War was still ongoing. Space exploration continued to inspire the world. New music, new ideas, and new social movements were reshaping the nation. Every 1972 quarter was a silent witness to that era. Some traveled across the country in the pockets of soldiers. Others passed through diners, movie theaters, and gas stations. Some may have purchased a newspaper reporting historic events. Others might have been tucked away in a child's piggy bank and forgotten for decades. Each coin carries an untold story, and that's something collectors cherish. When examining a 1972 no-mint mark quarter today, you're not just looking at 25 cents. You're holding a small piece of American history, a coin that has survived more than half a century, a coin that may have changed hands thousands of times, a coin that continues to spark curiosity among collectors around the world. Perhaps that's the greatest mystery of all. Not whether a particular quarter is valuable, not whether it contains a rare error, but where it has been, who carried it, what stories could it tell if it could speak. The next time you receive change, take a closer look before tossing those coins aside. Hidden among ordinary pocket change could be a fascinating survivor from 1972, quietly waiting to reveal its history. And while most 1972 no-mint mark Washington quarters are common, the search itself is what makes collecting so rewarding. Every coin offers the possibility of discovery. Every date holds a story. Every collection hides a mystery. So now the question becomes yours. Do you have a 1972 Washington quarter tucked away somewhere? Could a forgotten coin jar be hiding an exceptional example? Or perhaps an overlooked mint error waiting to be discovered? One thing is certain. The next great coin find is still out there. And it might be closer than you think. If you enjoyed uncovering the story behind the 1972 no-mint mark Washington quarter, be sure to subscribe and join us for more fascinating journeys into the world of rare coins, hidden treasures, and incredible discoveries that could be sitting in ordinary collections right now. Until next time, keep searching, keep collecting, and never underestimate the secrets hiding in your spare change. I want you to imagine this for a moment. You're digging through a jar of old pocket change. Nothing unusual catches your eye at first. A few pennies, some nickels, and then a Washington quarter dated 2000. Most people would toss it aside without a second thought. But what if that ordinary-looking coin could be worth hundreds, even thousands of dollars under the right circumstances? That possibility is exactly why collectors across America still search through rolls of quarters today. And among the countless coins that pass through people's hands every day, the 2000p Washington quarter has become one of the most fascinating modern coins to watch. At first glance, there's nothing extraordinary about it. It features the familiar portrait of George Washington that Americans had seen for decades. Yet hidden behind this common design is a story of massive production, changing eras, rare errors, and the thrill of discovery that keeps treasure hunters searching. To understand why this coin matters, we need to travel back to the year 2000. The world was entering a new millennium. People were celebrating the arrival of a new century. Technology was advancing rapidly, and the United States Mint was in the middle of one of the most successful coin programs in American history. The State Quarters program had launched just 1 year earlier in 1999. For the first time, millions of Americans were paying close attention to quarters. Families were collecting them. Children were filling albums. Coin shops were seeing new collectors walk through their doors every day. During this exciting period, the Philadelphia Mint struck an enormous number of Washington quarters dated 2000. More than 900 million examples were produced with the P Mint mark, making it one of the most widely circulated coins of its era. Now, you might be wondering something. If over 900 million were made, how could any of them possibly be valuable? That's where the story gets interesting. Most 2000 P quarters are worth exactly 25 cents. They were produced in such huge numbers that finding one is incredibly easy. In fact, there's a good chance several are still sitting in circulation right now. But collectors know a secret. Condition changes everything. Imagine two identical coins struck on the same day. One spends 20 years bouncing around cash registers, vending machines, and parking meters. The other is carefully preserved from the moment it leaves the mint. 20 years later, the difference can be astonishing. A heavily worn 2000 P quarter may still be worth only face value. But a perfectly preserved example with brilliant luster and virtually no imperfections can command surprisingly strong prices among collectors. The reason is simple. Although hundreds of millions were produced, very few survived in truly pristine condition. Every scratch, nick, and contact mark reduces a coin's grade. Finding one that appears almost exactly as it did on the day it was struck is much more difficult than many people realize. Professional grading services have certified some exceptional examples of the 2000 P Washington quarter. High-grade specimens have sold for hundreds of dollars, and in rare cases, the finest known examples have reached values approaching or exceeding the $1,000 range. Think about that for a moment. A quarter worth 25 cents becoming a four-figure collectible simply because it survived in extraordinary condition. That's the magic of coin collecting. But condition isn't the only thing collectors seek. Some of the most exciting discoveries involve mint errors. Every coin is produced through a highly precise manufacturing process. Massive presses strike blank metal discs with tremendous force. Most coins emerge exactly as intended. Occasionally, however, something goes wrong. And when it does, ordinary coins can become extraordinary treasures. Collectors have discovered off-center strikes, die cracks, struck through errors, and other unusual varieties among Washington quarters from this era. An off-center strike occurs when the coin blank is not properly positioned during production. Part of the design may be missing while the remaining details appear shifted toward one side. Die cracks occur when the metal dies used to strike coins begin to deteriorate. These cracks can leave raised lines on the finished coin. Other errors can create unusual textures, missing details, or unexpected design elements. While not every error is valuable, dramatic and visually obvious examples often attract significant interest from collectors. This is one reason treasure hunters still search through rolls of quarters from banks. Every coin represents a possibility. Most searches end with ordinary finds, but every once in a while, someone discovers something remarkable. And that's where the excitement lives. The possibility, the chance that an overlooked coin could turn out to be something special. There's another reason the 2000 P quarter remains important. It represents a fascinating transition period in American coinage. For generations, the Washington quarter had maintained a relatively consistent appearance. Yet the state quarters program transformed the quarter into something entirely different. People were no longer just spending quarters. They were collecting them. Suddenly, coins became miniature history lessons. Each state release celebrated unique stories, landmarks, and cultural identities. Millions of Americans who had never considered themselves collectors suddenly found themselves examining every quarter they received in change. The 2000p Washington quarter exists right in the middle of this collecting revolution. It serves as a reminder of a moment when coin collecting exploded into mainstream popularity and inspired a new generation of enthusiasts. And perhaps that's why these coins continue to hold a special place in many collections today. They are more than pieces of metal. They are artifacts from a specific moment in American history, a time when people eagerly checked their pocket change, searched for missing states, and built collections one quarter at a time. Yet there remains an intriguing mystery surrounding modern coins like this one. How many valuable examples are still out there? No one knows. Some may be sitting unnoticed in old coin jars. Others may be hidden inside inherited collections that haven't been examined for years. A few could even be circulating through everyday commerce right now. Imagine receiving a quarter as change from a grocery store. You glance at the date and see 2000. Without thinking, you spend it the next day. What if that coin happened to be an exceptional high-grade survivor or a rare error variety? Most people would never know. That's what makes coin hunting so addictive. The next discovery could happen anywhere. In a bankroll, in a cash register, in a forgotten drawer, or in a collection gathering dust for decades. For serious collectors, the 2000p Washington quarter also serves as a lesson about rarity. Many people assume that old automatically means valuable. In reality, rarity and condition often matter far more than age. A coin produced in 2000 can sometimes be worth more than a much older coin simply because fewer top-quality examples exist. This surprises many beginners. After all, 25 years doesn't seem very old in the world of coins. But the marketplace doesn't always reward age. It rewards scarcity, demand, quality, and collector interest. And when those factors align, even a modern quarter can become a sought-after prize. As we look back at the 2000p Washington quarter, its story is ultimately about perspective. To most people, it's just another quarter. To collectors, it's a piece of history. To treasure hunters, it's a potential discovery waiting to happen. And to those lucky enough to find an exceptional example, it might be far more valuable than its face value suggests. So the next time you receive a quarter in change, don't spend it too quickly. Take a closer look. Check the date. Examine the condition. Look for anything unusual. Because hidden among billions of ordinary coins may be a remarkable survivor that escaped notice for decades. And perhaps that's the greatest lesson of all. Sometimes the most fascinating treasures aren't buried in ancient ruins or locked away in secret vaults. Sometimes they're hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone curious enough to notice. Have you ever found an unusual quarter or a valuable coin in your pocket change? Share your discovery in the comments below. And if you enjoy uncovering hidden treasures, forgotten history, and coins that could be worth far more than their face value, make sure to subscribe and join us for the next incredible coin story. You never know which ordinary-looking coin might turn out to be the next great discovery. What if I told you that a quarter sitting in your pocket right now could be worth far more than 25 cents? Most people spend them without a second thought. They toss them into vending machines, leave them in cup holders, or drop them into jars that gather dust for years. But every once in a while, an ordinary-looking coin hides an extraordinary story. And today, we're diving into one of those fascinating coins, the 2003D Washington quarter. At first glance, it doesn't seem special. Millions of Americans used these quarters every day. They bought coffee, paid parking meters, and disappeared into cash registers across the country. Yet collectors continue searching through rolls of change hoping to find exceptional examples of this coin. Why? Because behind its common appearance lies a story of American history, massive production, hidden varieties, and surprising collector value. To understand the 2003D Washington quarter, we need to travel back to the early 2000s. America was in the middle of one of the most successful coin programs ever created, the State Quarters Program. The United States Mint had launched an ambitious project in 1999, releasing new quarter designs honoring each state. Millions of people who had never cared about coins suddenly became collectors. Children searched through pocket change. Families filled colorful quarter maps. Banks struggled to keep enough rolls in stock as collectors eagerly hunted for every new release. Coin collecting had become a nationwide treasure hunt. But while everyone focused on the changing state designs on the reverse side, another story was unfolding. Every state quarter still carried the familiar portrait of George Washington on the front. This meant that every quarter minted during this era was still technically part of the long-running Washington Quarter series that began back in 1932. The 2003 D quarter was struck at the Denver Mint, one of America's most important coin-producing facilities. Located in Colorado, the Denver Mint has produced billions upon billions of coins throughout its history. The small D mint mark on the coin tells us exactly where it was made. And here's where things become interesting. The Denver Mint produced an astonishing number of quarters in 2003. Depending on the specific state design, mintages reached into the hundreds of millions. This enormous production means these coins remain relatively common today. But as experienced collectors know, rarity isn't always about how many coins were made. Sometimes it's about how many survive in exceptional condition. Think about it. A coin leaves the mint looking flawless. The surfaces shine brilliantly. Every detail appears sharp and crisp. Then it enters circulation. It gets dropped, scratched, bumped against other coins, and passed from hand to hand thousands of times. Years later, finding one that still looks nearly perfect becomes much more difficult. This is where the treasure hunting aspect begins. Most 2003 D Washington quarters are worth face value, 25 cents. Nothing more. But certain examples can command significantly higher prices. Coins graded in mint state condition, especially those with exceptional luster and minimal contact marks, often attract collector interest. The finest known examples can sell for hundreds of dollars, and in some cases, even more at auction. Imagine finding a quarter worth hundreds of times its face value simply because it survived in remarkable condition. But condition isn't the only thing collectors look for. Errors and varieties add another layer of mystery. Throughout American coinage history, mistakes have occasionally slipped through the minting process. Off-center strikes, double strikes, decrecs, missing elements. These mint errors transform ordinary coins into fascinating collectibles. Some collectors spend years searching through thousands of quarters hoping to discover a rare error coin hiding in plain sight. And that's one of the most exciting aspects of coin collecting. The possibility that a remarkable discovery could be waiting in everyday change. The Washington Quarter itself carries a rich historical legacy. First introduced in 1932 to commemorate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth, it was originally intended as a temporary design. Yet the public embraced it so strongly that it became a permanent fixture of American coinage. Think about how many generations have handled Washington quarters. People who lived through the Great Depression, World War II veterans, the astronauts of the space age, and now modern collectors. For nearly a century, this coin has connected Americans across different eras. The 2003 D Washington Quarter represents a unique chapter within that story. It emerged during a period when collecting coins became a national phenomenon. Millions of people who had never paid attention to pocket change suddenly started examining every quarter they received. Some experts credit the state quarters program with creating an entirely new generation of collectors. And perhaps that's part of the coin's true significance. Its value isn't measured only in dollars. It's measured in the excitement it inspired, the curiosity it sparked, the treasure hunts it launched in living rooms, classrooms, and kitchen tables across the country. But there's another fascinating question. How many pristine 2003 D quarters are still out there? No one knows for certain. Many were heavily circulated. Others disappeared into collections. Some may still sit forgotten inside old jars, piggy banks, or dresser drawers. Imagine opening a forgotten coin container that's been untouched for 20 years. Inside could be a beautifully preserved 2003 D quarter waiting to be discovered. That's the magic of coin collecting. History can hide in the most unexpected places. Even more intriguing is how collector preferences evolve over time. Coins that seem common today can become increasingly difficult to locate in top condition decades later. As years pass, surviving high-grade examples become more desirable. Every year, more coins experience wear, Every year, fewer remain pristine. And every year, collectors continue searching. The 2003 Washington quarter also serves as a reminder that value often depends on details invisible to casual observers. Two quarters may appear identical at first glance. Yet one could be worth 25 cents while another might be worth hundreds. The difference could be condition, a rare error, exceptional eye appeal, or a combination of factors that serious collectors appreciate. This hidden complexity is what makes the hobby so captivating. You're not just looking at money. You're examining miniature pieces of history, tiny metal time capsules that reveal stories about the era in which they were made, the technology used to produce them, the people who collected them, and the journey they traveled over the years. As we look back at the 2003 Washington quarter, it's easy to see why collectors remain interested. It represents an unforgettable moment in modern American coinage. It belongs to one of the most successful coin programs ever created. And it continues to inspire treasure hunters who search for valuable examples in circulation and collections alike. So the next time you receive a quarter in change, don't spend it too quickly. Take a closer look. Check the date. Look for that small D mint mark. Examine the condition, because you never know what story a coin might tell. And perhaps somewhere, tucked away in a forgotten jar or hidden among ordinary pocket change, a remarkable 2003 Washington quarter is waiting for someone to recognize its true significance. That's the beauty of coin collecting. The next great discovery might already be in your hands. If you enjoyed uncovering the story behind the 2003 Washington quarter, make sure to subscribe and join us for more fascinating journeys into the world of rare coins, hidden treasures, and incredible discoveries. And before you go, tell us in the comments, what's the most valuable coin you've ever found in your change? Your next coin could be your greatest discovery yet. Have you ever picked up a Washington quarter and tossed it into a jar without a second thought? What if one of those ordinary-looking coins was actually worth far more than 25 cents? And what if a quarter minted in 2005, a coin millions of Americans handled every day, carried a story connected to exploration, history, and the possibility of surprising collector value? Today, we're diving into the fascinating world of the 2005 Washington quarter-dollar coin. At first glance, it may seem like just another modern coin. But hidden behind its familiar design is a remarkable chapter of American history, a massive minting operation, and a treasure hunt that continues among collectors today. To understand why this coin matters, we need to travel back to the early 2000s. The United States Mint was in the middle of one of the most successful coin programs in American history. The state quarters program had already captured the imagination of millions of people. Families searched through pocket change. Kids filled coin folders. Collectors eagerly awaited every new release. Then came 2005. That year, the Mint issued quarters celebrating specific states, and one of the most memorable was the Kansas quarter. If your 2005 quarter carries a D Mint mark, it means it was struck at the Denver Mint, one of America's most important coin-producing facilities. But why did this particular quarter attract so much attention? The answer begins with Kansas itself. Known as the Sunflower State, Kansas played a vital role in America's westward expansion. Vast prairies stretched across the horizon, serving as pathways for settlers, traders, and adventurers seeking new opportunities. The quarter's reverse design celebrates this heritage with a majestic American bison standing proudly beneath the words, "In God we rust." Or does it? That strange phrase sparked one of the most talked about coin discoveries of the decade. When the Kansas quarter entered circulation, sharp-eyed collectors noticed something unusual. On certain coins, the letter T in the word trust appeared to be missing. Instead of reading, "In God we trust," the coin appeared to say, "In God we rust." Suddenly, an ordinary quarter became the center of a nationwide treasure hunt. People rushed to inspect their pocket change. Coin forums exploded with discussions. Newspapers reported on the strange error. Could a simple minting mistake transform a common quarter into a valuable collectible? The answer was yes. The missing letter wasn't intentional. It occurred when grease filled part of the die during production, preventing the complete design from being struck onto the coin. The result was a fascinating error that instantly captured the imagination of collectors. Imagine buying a cup of coffee, receiving change, and discovering that one quarter could be worth dozens or even hundreds of times its face value. That's the magic of coin collecting. But the Kansas quarter wasn't the only mystery surrounding the 2005 Washington quarter. Some examples display weak strikes, unusual die chips, or other minor minting anomalies. While many are common and carry little premium, certain varieties continue to attract collector interest. What makes this even more exciting is the sheer scale of production. Hundreds of millions of 2005 quarters were struck at the Denver Mint. With such enormous numbers, you might assume every coin is common and worthless beyond face value. Yet history has shown that rarity isn't always about low mintage. Sometimes rarity comes from condition. Think about it for a moment. Millions of these quarters entered circulation. They were spent, dropped, scratched, and worn down over time. Most eventually lost their original mint luster. Finding one today in pristine condition is much harder than finding an ordinary circulated example. Professional grading services evaluate coins using detailed standards. A quarter that appears ordinary to one person might receive an exceptionally high grade if it has preserved surfaces, strong strike quality, and minimal imperfections. And that's where things get interesting. Many circulated 2005 Washington quarters remain worth only face value. However, examples graded at the highest levels can command significantly higher prices in the collector market. The difference between a 25-cent coin and a collectible worth many dollars often comes down to tiny details invisible to casual observers. That reality keeps treasure hunters searching through rolls of coins from banks, estate sales, and old collections. But beyond value and rarity, this coin tells a larger story about America itself. The Washington Quarter series began in 1932 to honor America's first president, George Washington. What started as a commemorative issue eventually became one of the longest-running coin series in U.S. history. By 2005, the quarter had evolved into something much more than everyday currency. It became a miniature history lesson. Each state quarter introduced Americans to the unique identity of a different state. For Kansas, the choice of the American bison was especially meaningful. The bison once roamed the Great Plains in enormous numbers. These powerful animals shaped ecosystems, influenced Native American cultures, and became enduring symbols of the American frontier. When people held the 2005 Kansas quarter, they weren't just holding money. They were holding a tiny piece of American heritage. Yet perhaps the most fascinating aspect of this coin is how a small manufacturing error transformed public perception. Before the "In God We Rust" discovery, millions of people barely noticed their quarters. After the error became famous, countless Americans suddenly examined every coin that passed through their hands. It was a reminder that extraordinary discoveries can hide within ordinary objects. How many valuable coins have been unknowingly spent? How many rare varieties have disappeared into vending machines? How many treasures are still waiting in forgotten jars, drawers, and piggy banks across the country? These questions fuel the excitement of collectors around the world. Even today, the 2005 Washington quarter remains a favorite among modern coin enthusiasts. Some search for rarer varieties. Others seek high-grade examples. Many simply enjoy owning a coin connected to one of the most popular collecting programs ever created. And that's the beauty of numismatics. You don't need to be wealthy to participate. Unlike rare gold coins worth thousands or millions of dollars, modern quarters can still be found in circulation. Every handful of change carries the possibility of discovery. The next time you receive a quarter, take a closer look. Check the date. Look for the mint mark. Inspect the lettering. You never know what story that coin might tell. The 2005 Washington quarter may not be the rarest coin in America. It may not be the oldest, but its combination of historical significance, collector interest, famous mint errors, and connection to everyday life has secured its place in modern coin collecting history. For some people, it's just a quarter. For others, it's a symbol of exploration, craftsmanship, and the thrill of the hunt. And perhaps that's why this coin continues to capture attention more than 2 decades after it was minted. Because every coin has a story. Some stories are written by presidents. Some are written by pioneers. And occasionally, a story is written by a tiny missing letter that turns trust into rust and transforms an ordinary piece of change into a legendary collector's treasure. So before you spend your next quarter, take a moment to look at it carefully. The coin sitting unnoticed in your pocket today could be hiding a fascinating piece of American history. And who knows, your next great treasure hunt might begin with just 25 cents. If you enjoyed this story and love discovering hidden treasures, rare coins, and surprising values hiding in everyday pocket change, make sure to subscribe and join us for more incredible coin adventures. And tell us in the comments, have you ever found an unusual coin in your change? Your discovery might inspire the next great treasure story. What if I told you that a quarter you might have received as change at a grocery store, gas station, or vending machine could be worth far more than 25 cents? Most people spend these coins without a second thought. But every once in a while, an ordinary-looking quarter hides an extraordinary story. And today, we're diving into one of the most fascinating modern coins in American pocket change, the 2006 Washington quarter. At first glance, it doesn't look special. It's just another quarter featuring George Washington. Millions of Americans carried it in their pockets, dropped it into parking meters, and tossed it into piggy banks. Yet behind this seemingly common coin lies a story of history, symbolism, minting secrets, and the possibility of discovering a surprisingly valuable treasure in everyday circulation. To understand why the 2006 Washington quarter matters, we need to travel back to a time when America was celebrating its diverse heritage through one of the most successful coin programs ever created. The Washington quarter first appeared in 1932 to commemorate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. What was originally intended as a one-year commemorative issue became a permanent design. For decades, Americans carried the familiar portrait of Washington in their pockets. Then, in 1999, the United States Mint launched the Revolutionary State Quarters program. The goal was simple yet ambitious: honor every state in the nation with unique reverse designs. The program quickly became a nationwide sensation. Millions of people who had never collected coins before suddenly began searching their pocket change for missing states. By 2006, the program was reaching its most exciting years. The Philadelphia Mint, identified by the small P mint mark, struck hundreds of millions of quarters that year. Among them were 5 state designs representing Nevada, Nebraska, Colorado, North Dakota, and South Dakota. Together, these coins painted a portrait of America's Western spirit, frontier history, and natural beauty. Imagine the enormous scale of production. The Philadelphia Mint produced over 900 million Washington state quarters in 2006. That's an astonishing number. If stacked on top of each other, they would reach incredible heights. Yet despite such massive production, certain examples have become highly sought after by collectors. Why? Because rarity isn't always about how many coins were made. Sometimes it's about how many survive in exceptional condition. Think about it. The moment a coin enters circulation, its journey begins, passes through countless hands. It gets scratched, dropped, scraped against keys, and worn down over time. Most coins gradually lose the brilliant appearance they had when they left the mint. But a tiny percentage survive with remarkable quality. These pristine examples can command surprising premiums. A flawless 2006 Washington quarter certified in high mint state grades can sell for many times its face value. The difference between an average circulated coin and a top-grade example can be dramatic. This is where the treasure hunting aspect becomes truly exciting. Some collectors spend years searching through rolls of quarters from banks, hoping to uncover a coin that escaped heavy circulation. Imagine finding a coin that has remained nearly untouched for 2 decades. It's like discovering a time capsule hidden in plain sight. But condition isn't the only factor that creates value. Errors and varieties often capture the imagination of collectors. Throughout history, minting mistakes have transformed ordinary coins into prized collectibles. While the vast majority of 2006 quarters were produced correctly, occasional striking errors can occur. Off-center strikes, die cracks, clipped planchets, and other unusual minting mistakes can dramatically increase collector interest. These accidental creations remind us that even in highly controlled manufacturing processes, perfection is never guaranteed. And that's where the mystery begins. How many unusual 2006 P quarters are still circulating today? How many are sitting unnoticed in coin jars, dresser drawers, or old collections? The truth is, nobody knows. Some of the most valuable coin discoveries happen when someone decides to take a closer look at a coin they've owned for years. Let's talk about the designs themselves because they're filled with fascinating symbolism. The Nevada quarter celebrates the state's wild heritage with wild mustangs racing across the landscape. The design captures freedom, movement, and the untamed spirit of the American West. Nebraska's quarter features Chimney Rock, one of the most famous landmarks encountered by pioneers traveling the Oregon Trail. For thousands of settlers heading westward, Chimney Rock served as a beacon of hope and progress. Colorado's quarter showcases the majestic Rocky Mountains. Its simple but powerful design reflects the state's rugged beauty and adventurous character. North Dakota's quarter depicts grazing bison beneath a stunning sunset. The image connects modern America with the vast prairie landscapes that shaped the nation's history. South Dakota's design highlights Mount Rushmore, a symbol recognized around the world. The coin combines images of agriculture, wildlife, and one of America's most iconic monuments. Each of these quarters tells a different story. Each one captures a unique piece of American identity. And together they represent far more than spare change. They're miniature history lessons struck into metal. What's remarkable is that millions of people carried these artistic creations without ever noticing the details. Think about that for a moment. A tiny coin passes through hundreds of hands. Most people see only its spending power, but collectors see history, craftsmanship, and stories frozen in time. That's what makes coin collecting so captivating. Every coin is a survivor. Every coin has traveled through countless lives. And every coin carries a story waiting to be discovered. Now here's something many people don't realize. The Philadelphia Mint itself has a history stretching back to the 18th century. Founded in 1792, it became the first federal building erected under the authority of the United States Constitution. For more than 2 centuries, it has produced coins that witnessed wars, economic booms, technological revolutions, and dramatic social changes. The 2006 P Washington quarter is part of that ongoing legacy. When collectors hold one today, they're holding a piece of a tradition that spans generations. But what about value? This is often the question that sparks the greatest curiosity. Most circulated 2006 P quarters remain worth face value. That's the reality. However, uncirculated examples with strong eye appeal can be worth several dollars. Higher-grade certified specimens may command much larger premiums. Rare error coins can sometimes attract even stronger interest depending on the nature and severity of the mistake. The key lesson is simple. Never judge a coin solely by its denomination. History has repeatedly shown that ordinary-looking coins can become extraordinary collectibles. And that's precisely why treasure hunters continue searching. Some search bank rolls. Some examine inherited collections. Others carefully inspect every coin they receive in change. Because the next great discovery might be closer than anyone expects. Perhaps sitting quietly in a forgotten drawer. Perhaps hidden in a jar of loose coins. Perhaps already in your pocket. The beauty of the 2006 P Washington quarter isn't just its potential value. It's the way it connects everyday Americans to history, art, and the thrill of discovery. Few hobbies offer that combination. A simple quarter becomes a gateway to stories about pioneers, wild mustangs, mountain landscapes, national monuments, and the enduring legacy of George Washington himself. And maybe that's the greatest treasure of all. Not the money, not the rarity, but the realization that history is often hiding in the most ordinary places. So the next time you receive a quarter in change, don't spend it too quickly. Take a closer look. Check the date. Look for the mint mark. Examine the condition. Because that small piece of metal might be carrying a story far bigger than its size suggests. And who knows? Your next handful of change could contain a hidden collectible waiting to be discovered. If you enjoyed this journey into the world of rare coins and hidden treasures, make sure to subscribe and join us for more fascinating stories from America's pocket change. There are still countless coins out there with secrets to reveal, mysteries to solve, and treasures waiting to be found. And as every great treasure hunter knows, the next discovery is always just one coin away. Have you ever picked up a quarter from your pocket, glanced at it for a second, and tossed it aside without another thought? What if I told you that one ordinary-looking quarter from 2015 could spark a treasure hunt that has collectors searching through rolls of coins, bank boxes, and spare change jars across America? And what if the quarter sitting unnoticed in a drawer right now has a story that stretches back centuries, connecting modern America to one of the most important events in human history? Today, we're diving into the fascinating world of the 2015 Washington quarter dollar, a coin that many people spend every day without realizing its historical significance, collector appeal, and surprising potential value. At first glance, the 2015 Washington quarter looks like any other quarter. It carries the familiar portrait of George Washington on the front, a design that has become one of the most recognizable images in American coinage. But as with many coins, the real story begins when you look a little closer. The P mint mark tells us this coin was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, one of the oldest and most important minting facilities in the United States. Philadelphia has been producing American coinage since the late 1700s, and every coin that leaves its presses becomes part of a living historical record. But why is the year 2015 so special? To answer that question, we need to travel back in time. In 2010, the United States Mint launched the America the Beautiful Quarters program, a remarkable series designed to honor national parks and historic sites throughout the country. Every year, 5 new quarter designs were released, each celebrating a different location that helped shape America's story. The 2015 quarters were particularly memorable. They featured sites representing natural beauty, history, exploration, and preservation. Millions of Americans suddenly found themselves examining quarters more carefully than ever before. The Philadelphia Mint produced enormous quantities of these coins, including the famous 2015 issues. With a mintage often measured in the hundreds of millions, these coins were never intended to be rare. Yet collectors know something that casual spenders often overlook. Rarity is not always about how many coins were made. Sometimes it's about condition. Imagine 2 identical quarters minted on the same day. One enters circulation immediately, passing through countless hands, cash registers, vending machines, and pockets. Over time, scratches appear. The shine fades. Tiny marks accumulate. The other coin is carefully preserved from the moment it leaves the mint. It remains untouched, retaining its original luster and sharp details. Years later, those 2 coins can have dramatically different values. This is where the story of the 2015 Washington quarter becomes especially interesting. Most circulated examples remain worth their face value of 25 cents. But high-grade specimens, especially those receiving exceptional grades from professional grading services, can command significant premiums among collectors. Why would someone pay more than face value for a modern quarter? The answer lies in perfection. Collectors are constantly searching for coins with flawless surfaces, brilliant mint luster, and razor-sharp strikes. Finding a coin that survives in near-perfect condition is much harder than many people realize. Even freshly minted coins can acquire marks during packaging and transportation. As a result, top-grade examples become surprisingly scarce. And then there are the errors. Coin collectors love errors because they transform ordinary coins into accidental treasures. Throughout American coinage history, minting mistakes have created some of the most valuable collectibles ever discovered. A slight misalignment, a double design, an off-center strike, or an unusual die defect can turn a common coin into something extraordinary. The 2015 quarters are no exception. Although major errors are relatively uncommon, collectors continue examining these coins in hopes of finding unusual varieties. Every year, stories emerge of individuals discovering unexpected minting mistakes in coins they almost spent. Think about that for a moment. Some of the most exciting finds in numismatics have come from everyday pocket change. Not ancient treasure chests, not secret vaults, just ordinary coins hiding in plain sight. That possibility keeps the hunt alive. But there's another fascinating layer to this story. The Washington Quarter itself has a remarkable history. The series began in 1932 to commemorate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. Originally intended as a one-year commemorative issue, the design became so popular that it evolved into a permanent part of American coinage. For decades, generations of Americans have carried Washington quarters without realizing they hold a miniature piece of history. The portrait on the obverse honors the nation's first president, a leader whose decisions helped shape the future of the United States. Every quarter serves as a small reminder of that legacy. Meanwhile, the reverse designs change over time, telling different chapters of America's story. That combination of continuity and change makes quarter collecting especially appealing. One side remains familiar. The other side becomes a journey through history. For collectors assembling complete sets, the 2015 issues occupy an important place in the America the Beautiful series. Missing even one coin can leave a frustrating gap in an otherwise complete collection. And human nature has always loved completion. That's one reason modern quarters remain highly collectible despite their large mintages. But perhaps the most intriguing aspect of the 2015 P. Washington Quarter is how it demonstrates a fundamental truth about coin collecting. Value is not always obvious. Many people imagine rare coins as ancient gold pieces locked away in museums. Yet some collectible treasures are modern coins hiding among ordinary change. A child receiving lunch money, a cashier counting a register, a traveler emptying a pocket. Any of them could unknowingly handle a coin that catches the attention of collectors. That idea creates a sense of possibility that few hobbies can match. Every handful of change becomes an opportunity. Every coin roll becomes a mystery. Every quarter deserves a second look. And speaking of mysteries, consider this question. How many exceptional 2015 P quarters are still waiting to be discovered? No one knows. Some may sit forgotten in piggy banks. Others may rest inside old coin jars gathering dust on shelves. A few could already be circulating unnoticed from one state to another, quietly traveling thousands of miles. The truth is that the story of these coins is still being written. Unlike ancient artifacts buried for centuries, modern coins continue moving through society every day. Their journeys evolve with every transaction. That's part of what makes coin collecting so exciting. You're not just studying history, you're participating in it. The next great discovery hasn't necessarily happened yet. It could occur tomorrow. It could happen next week. It could happen when someone decides to inspect a quarter before spending it. As years pass, interest in America the Beautiful quarters continues to grow. New collectors enter the hobby, searching for high-quality examples and building complete sets. Older collectors revisit the series, appreciating the historical themes and artistic designs. The 2015 P. Washington Quarter stands as a reminder that even modern coins can tell compelling stories. It represents American history, national pride, craftsmanship, and the thrill of discovery all packed into a small piece of metal worth just 25 cents. And maybe that's the greatest lesson of all. Treasures don't always look like treasures. Sometimes they're hiding in plain sight. Sometimes they're sitting quietly in a coin jar. And sometimes they're already in your pocket. So the next time you receive a quarter in change, don't dismiss it too quickly. Take a closer look. Check the date. Look for that Philadelphia Mint mark. Examine the details. You never know what story that coin might tell. And who knows? The next quarter you hold could be more than just spare change. It could be a collectible piece of American history, a hidden gem for a future collection, or the beginning of your own treasure hunting adventure. If you enjoyed uncovering the story behind the 2015 P. Washington Quarter, make sure to subscribe and join us for more fascinating journeys into the world of rare coins, hidden treasures, and incredible discoveries. Because sometimes the most valuable stories aren't buried underground. They're already in your pocket, waiting to be found.